Dominique Brightmon, how you doing?
Doing fabulous, Stu. How you feeling?
Good. You're a busy guy, author, podcaster, certified leadership trainer. Where do you find all this time?
Let's see. I find all this time by having 9 days out of the week in my mind.
Very good. Maybe you can coach me on that. I'd like to know how to do that. Listen, I really liked your book, Going North, Tips and Tricks for Advancing Yourself. Um, it's funny. I read the title. I'm like, Going North. What is Going North? And then I read it inside. It was very interesting. You can explain that a little bit.
Yes, sir. So the book Going North itself, it actually started off originally as a joke, at least the title anyway, because you ever had someone just ask you, "Hey, how's it going?" And then they'll just give you the canned answer, "Fine, good, can't complain." And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to just take this literally one day. So my colleague asked that question. I told him, "I'm going north." And she was taken aback a bit. I'm like, okay. And she just walked off confused. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. And that just became a greeting for everybody. And a few years down the road, the book came out after being dared to write it from also attendee at a leadership conference, a public speaking conference at Toastmasters. And she dared me to write a book within a year. And funny enough, first off, I didn't even think I was enough to write a book at the time, at least that one, because I was 23 at the time. And I realized, you know what? Maybe I can actually do this. So at the time, I was reading about a good 50 books a year, taking a piece of advice from each book and applying it to my life. So I figured, let me put out some work that I'm doing that applies to my own life that I've actually applied and give it to the world. Because if it's something I'm going to be writing and teaching and speaking, it's something I have to live. Because we have a lot of folks out there who call themselves the social media influencers who have all these followings that some may have been bought, funny enough. And it's like I don't want to be that guy. I want to just give you the real, genuine, real deal stuff. I'm not like here to sell you a bill of goods never to be found again. Now, it's like, hey, if something worked for me, I hope it works for you too as well. And that's the name of the game. It's going north, tips and techniques to advance yourself, and it's all about advancing others to advance yourself.
So it has nothing to do with going to Canada.
I mean, that's not in the book, but hey.
What I really liked about the book was that it was very little fluff. There was very little fluff, which I really like when I read a book. And I really like the action steps you have at the end because, you can get all this advice when you're reading, but then, action is the most important part of getting that information. First thing that I came across was this Rave method that you had in the book, RAVE. And I'm thinking, oh, I hope this isn't all about dancing or anything like that because I'm not a clubber. Um, but I did like it. Can you maybe go over that a little bit? Because I like the acronym RAVE, and I like what you said. So maybe you can go over each part of it. That'd be great.
Sure thing. So RAVE. So you're right. No glow sticks involved. I'm not a clubber myself. Funny enough, I learned that I was an extrovert a few years, not a few years, a few weeks ago on Myers Briggs when I thought I was an introvert for all these years, but enough of that tangent. Rave. So I'll just give the whole acronym and then just go deeper and teach. So the R is for reading, reading great material.
Hmm.
The A is for audio immersion, immersing yourself with great audio like Stu's wonderful show right here.
Oh, yeah,
And
man.
then the V, visual stimulation. My man Stu has got you covered on part two
There
as
you
well
go.
with this, as well as really making sure that you be careful what you put in front of your mind. So visual stimulation.
Hmm.
And the E is for encouragement, encouraging yourself and others.
Hmm.
And when it comes to R, which is for reading, reading is one of the best things you can do for your mind to keep it healthy and keep it going,
Of course.
moving and shaking, especially nowadays where so many folks we get past a certain age and they're elderly, they get Alzheimer's and dementia.
Hmm.
And my father, he lived to be 92. Now, granted, he got dementia and Alzheimer's, but he had a bout of depression as well, which really contributed more to that on top of everything else. But he would read papers every day and he would stay healthy because he would at least do things like cooking and cleaning and keeping himself active in churches and things like that, but also just reading the newspaper, even reading books.
Hmm.
And I've learned that reading books is one of the greatest things you can do for yourself because not only keeps your brain healthy because it expands your vocabulary and it can expand your thinking, because if you read a new book that gives you a new thought that you can use to not only better yourself but better others, you'll definitely be a force of nature. Not to mention, if you spend $25 on a book that someone may have put 40 years of their life into, you're actually getting a discount on someone else's experience. It's
Hmm.
really lessening your learning curve
That's right.
by gauging and really getting into someone else's mind and their thoughts at a time through a book. So definitely the reading part of that is very important about the Rave method. Yes, indeed. And the A, audio emergence. So not only podcasts and audiobooks, but also good music. For those maybe classical music fans, maybe into the Beethoven. I'm more into the Paul Hardcastle smooth jazz sort of guy. Occasional hip hop, Lupe Fiasco, a little Nipsey Hussle every now and then, and just really just keeping my ears and keeping my learning mobile in a way, because a lot of folks who drive nowadays and take these commutes to work 30 plus minutes, they got to fill their ears with something to try to keep their mind from having road rage.
You
Because
had a great
everybody,
statistic on that too. What was it? Do you remember that one?
yeah, if I'm not mistaken, I believe, man, I forgot how
People who
many
drive
hours it was.
12,000 miles a year,
Yeah,
if they listen to audio programs, I think they can attain the equivalent of a 3-year degree in 2 years, which was fascinating.
yeah. Yeah, it really is, and it's so true. And that study was so powerful. And funny enough, that original study was done, I believe, in the '80s, because Zig Ziglar was known for recording that study multiple times.
Hmm.
And it's so true when you're on the road so much,
Hmm.
and folks talk about college education and everything like that. But truth be told, most folks don't use their college education. I mean, I have an IT degree. I may use probably 5% of what I gained out of college in my day-to-day life and even with work. So really having the choice of what you put into your ears and what you actually listen to, you can educate yourself on just about anything when you're on the road, and keeping your learning mobile. That makes you even more agile in today's society, because society moves so fast.
Hmm.
It's moving faster than Sonic the Hedgehog, like
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
faster the speed of sound, if not the speed of light. And just to keep up and to keep your mind going in a way, to just really fill your ears with that good stuff as well. And not only the ears, but also the eyes with visual stimulation. Like, so a lot of folks may listen to the news or watch the news when they first wake up and when they go to bed, but that's really a bad habit, because if you want to start your day off, then you want to start it off with a good note, with something positive, or even something that will really feed your mind and have you something to think. And not only that, a good day starts the night before. So if the last thing you watch is about somebody getting shot, stabbed, or killed, and the whole coronavirus thing that's spreading around in the media, and you go to sleep with that on your mind, that's going to be in your subconscious, and then you're just going to wake up with it. And then it's just this whole spiral of death in a way
I
that
agree.
you carry with you, and you don't want that with you. And of course, the E, that's where it kind of all ties together, because when you read great material and you fill your ears with great material and you watch great material, as well as educating yourself with all of that, and you encourage others, it's a really powerful thing that can help others become better versions of themselves, because everybody's fighting an important battle that no one knows about. We, on the surface, may look like $1 million with the bag of chips, and on the inside they may be struggling, like if they're like a police officer or a teacher, just especially those in the service industry, and nurses and doctors, so stressed out. Heck, even church pastors, and because they have to deal with so many different things from all around them,
Hmm.
and just really trying to help everyone else's problems, and they have no one pouring into them, because we're all wells. It's like the body being made of mostly water, the whole 70% water thing. We're actually just wells walking around with water to give to others metaphorically of encouragement and empowerment. And someone needs to be able to pour into us, or at least give ourselves that moment of silence to pour back into ourselves, so that way we can still be that well that's running
Hmm.
at a high level, as opposed to a well that's dry and that gets dirt stuck in it after a while because it's no longer useful. So
Hmm.
being able to encourage yourself and encourage others is very powerful. And that's the Rave method with a little added stuff from yours truly.
I think it's very good, and I think it's very powerful because, we talk about compound actions. You go and you purchase. Let's say you purchase a coffee or what have you every day. Let's just argument's sake say $2 a day. You're looking at $10 a week, $40 a month, $480 a year. It adds up over time, and I agree with you on the reading. I mean, that's just a given, but especially in the audio and the visual, that's not discussed very often. And I really like that idea, especially before you go to bed. But if you think about all those images and all those sounds that you're taking in from the radio, and the news especially, there's so much there that can put stress on your system, that can affect you, and it just affects your whole worldview. And that compounds over time. I agree with you 100%. A lot of the personal development books, they discuss reading and giving, and I agree with the R and the E. But I like that you focused also on the audio and the visual, because that's pretty much our daily lives. I don't know what the statistics are, but they're staggering at the amount of images that you see in a day. And just think about all the interactions you have with people, all the things you're listening to, whether it's in the car or taking the bus, or on your iPhone or cell phone or whatever you're doing. It adds up. And I particularly agree with you on that before going to bed. It's so important. And I love what you said about getting ready for the next day, because I think it does set the stage. The last thing that goes into your mind, that's what's in your mind. And you go to bed with that and you wake up with a feeling of what you've had. I think anybody can attest to that. They watch a horror movie, you don't have a good night's sleep, and you don't wake up
Yep.
in the best mood. It just happens. So I
Yep.
agree with you completely. You also discussed, it was really interesting, about the place of productivity, pop. Can you elaborate more on that one? It was a really interesting idea, actually.
Yes, yes. Wow, I haven't been asked that question like almost 3 years now. My goodness, good job, Stu.
I'm smarter than I look.
That's what the S of Stu stands for. Is
That's
smart,
right.
baby. That's what I'm talking about. Smart, talented, and understanding. All right, but yeah,
I love it. Let me write that one down.
there you go. There you go. That's the new intro for the show. But yeah, your POP, the pop, the place of productivity. A friend, it was a customer one time at the library. She came in and we just had these conversations every now and then. She mentions how she uses the library and one of her offices around the state, as well as sometimes a Panera Bread. And she mentioned how she gets more things done in certain places than others. And I agree with her because I'm the same way itself, because at home I have all these distractions that can really just pull at me. Like, heck, we got it all around us, like the small, heck, even like this. Funny enough, a buddy of mine called this a fondle slab. I don't know why he called it that, a smartphone, a fondle slab, because he fondles it when he's bored or whatever. But I,
It's a good business
yeah,
idea. You
I'm
can
like,
make it more like better texture on it. And
exactly, exactly. But yeah, the smartphones, and like I still have a couple gaming systems lying around, and the laptop itself. Like at home, it's like I can't really get as much done as I would like.
Mhm.
So it's going to a coffee shop or a library and getting stuff done is really finding your place of productivity, finding where you work best.
Mm.
So that way you can continue to do the rest of your best work, because in this society where we're in the attention management era, heck, that's what I'm gonna have to call it, the attention management
Mhm.
era, because
Mhm.
that's another good book that you might want to pick up. I believe the first, its first name is Amara,
Okay.
Maura, and she wrote this nice little book called Attention Management, and it's putting the nail on the head of time management, because yes, time is your life's true bank account, but it's really your attention, because everybody's going for it. And your place of productivity is where attention is going to be on your work, where you can have that deep work, that deep focus,
Mhm.
and knowing where you are. So heck, finding that coffee shop, getting in a special chair, heck, even having a chair set aside for thinking, heck, even one of the Wu-Tang Clan members, I believe it was, yeah, it was the RZA hit in his biography, The Tao of Wu. He mentioned how he had a thinking chair at a place set aside for thinking, and I have my own little corner in my home where I actually set aside time for thinking. In that chair, I do thinking. Heck, even having a notepad with me at all times in my car and making sure I have at least a pen or two that works, so that way I can write down and be ready to capture thoughts because you have to ink it when you think it. Because part of my book, the first chapter, mentions a question: what one skill 1 year from today I'd like to master? That question came to me after a good sweat session of kickboxing. And I'm like, I got to write this down. Heck, even part of my second book, Stay the Course, my last chapter, probably about a good 33% of it came after a kickboxing class. And I made sure that I was well equipped with the notebook to be able to capture.
Sorry, just you cut out a little bit.
Phone on your text.
Sorry,
The good
Don.
stuff texted in you, but
Don,
oh
you
yeah,
just cut out a little bit there.
it's
Sorry,
like
just want to rephrase that.
Oh darn. Oh sure thing. Yeah. So basically, oh sure. Oh, am I still there?
Yep.
Still here? Okay.
Yep.
Okay. Good. Good. Yeah. So basically, yeah, with the smartphone thing, it's like you can like text or tap on the phone and tap your thoughts on there, but it's better to write it down because your hand's gonna move faster most likely than your thumbs
Right.
on your phone. And what if your phone dies? Like, and not to mention when you write it down and you type it up later, you'll get to polish that thought too. So yeah, just your place of productivity. Definitely your place of productivity. Got to have it.
So if I understand what you're saying, especially if we combine a little bit of the rave with your place of productivity, I think you're essentially saying that we need to make that attempt to not just be automatons and zombies and just sit there and watch Netflix. Not there's anything wrong with Netflix,
Yeah,
but
no
just
wrong.
sit on the couch, have your chips, and watch. You've got to make that concerted effort to. I think you said practice selective ignorance. You had mentioned in your book
Mm-hmm.
about selecting what to ignore. And do that in a place of productivity. So, what do you do? What's your selective ignorance, and where's your place of productivity?
Yes, indeed. So selective ignorance. Yeah. So the news, I don't watch the news on the television. I
Mm.
avoid it. Usually Twitter, occasionally social media. I have some folks who still watch news on occasion, and I can just look at the feed, and then okay, I'll have a good idea of what's going on in the world. And funny enough, I had a podcast guest one time. Okay, if the world's ending, be sure I'll call the show and let you know. You have to watch the news. You'll be fine. So yeah, just having just stuff. I don't physically sit down and watch it. I still try to keep abreast of what's going on in society. Of course, you can't be a
Mm.
complete head in the sand
Sure.
zombie. So yeah, so there's that, and also just coffee shops like a Dunkin' Donuts. Just grab a chair, laptop, or whatever. Do some typing, some reading, having a good cup of coffee, occasionally some tea. That's also a place of productivity. Corner of my home and one of my rooms usually have a chair where I just do thinking in the morning. In morning too, especially. Sometimes I use the snooze button on occasion as the sensational moment of silence button. So
Mm.
that way I give myself that 5 minutes of silence when I first wake up, get in a chair,
Right.
and when it goes off, that means the 5 minutes is up. And if I want to continue, I can just hit the snooze again, and then I can just continue to think. So those are just really, all in all, my places of productivity. Heck, even my car itself, when I'm driving and I need to pull over, because if I have a thought, I'm just thinking while I'm driving, and I just need to write something down. It goes back to the
Mm.
whole notepad and pen moment. To always have something ready to ink it when I think it, because when you don't think about it, heck, even in the middle of the night when you have a dream or a nightmare or a random thought, it's like, you know what, I'll capture it in the morning, and then you realize you got captured by your laziness when you wake up because you forgot the idea. Heck, even
Or you ever have those dreams where you like create an amazing product or come up with a great idea and you wake up and think, I had that. I forgot what I had. Totally.
Yeah, in the past, yeah, definitely had that, and those are the nights where I didn't have my notepad next to me, and I was like,
Mm.
darn it. So yeah, that's where I decided, you know what, I'm going to keep a notepad. I'm actually going to write it down. I'm going to fight it off and I'll go back to sleep in a few minutes. It'll be all right.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny. So it sounds like you kind of have that dialogue in your head quite often. And I know you also recommend that too. And I think you're mentioning in the book as well. The best way to start one's dialogue with oneself is to ask questions, to have design questions for oneself.
Oh yeah, that's right. Got to design that day indeed. Got to design it. Design it almost like a Rolls Royce for those who want it. Or better yet, design it like you're programming an awesome app or something. But yeah, designing your day, 5 magical questions, like if every day. Now, granted, I've actually fall off the wagon a little bit from this since this was probably about a good. This was 2015 me writing that book. 2015, 2016 me. 2020 me usually goes with the 2 questions of what good shall I do today, and then the question when I go to bed, what good did I do today?
Mm.
Because if you focus on what good you can do for the day, you'll have the mindset to be able to switch it on and to turn the light switch on of, all right, what good can I do today? All right, so is there a project that I need to get back to? Is there someone I need to follow up with? Or just sending out a thank you note, or like even sending out a thinking of you card for those who may be going through a rough moment, or just remembering to pray for a specific person during moments of prayer and just meditation. And then what good have I done today at the end of the day? If I write down that item and I fulfilled it, then that was the good thing I've done. And heck, even doing some meditation reflection on how the day went and writing down something extra, then that can also answer that question. And heck, even thinking ahead sometimes and asking that question the night before of what good will I do tomorrow?
Right.
So that way your mind will be programmed subconsciously to think of ways to do things all day, and then you'll have a metaphorical deja vu moment when something happens because your mind pre-played it, and then it went into action on the following day.
Right. So you're prepping yourself.
That's right. Prepping, baby. That's right. You got to
So,
prep.
so what you're trying to tell me is instead of watching the news and a murder mystery when I go to bed, I should actually do something like plan my next day. Say, "Hey, you know what am I going to do tomorrow to be productive in my business? Or what am I going to do tomorrow to be healthier? Or what am I going to do tomorrow to improve my relationship with my wife and my kids?" Um, I think that's a fantastic idea. I think we just, the problem is we get so inundated with everyday life that either people are too busy or we're too tired and we forget it. But I think it has such an important role in our development. And it's those fine times that we have in between, going to bed and going to sleep, or waking up and taking that shower, that we can really utilize to its maximum, and create our own future and be our own architects for our own full potential. And I like how you design those questions, because it lets us reflect on those things and it lets us work on there. So by doing that, would that lead into how we treat other people? Do you do that as well when you're asking the questions?
Oh, yes, especially because sometimes folks may need a listening ear, to be honest, because they may not have someone to talk to. And I noticed that with customer service, sometimes with the day job I have as a librarian, a lot of folks come in with their issues and their problems, and they may bring their issues to me just because it's a random human and the first one that they saw after work, or heck, even before the day started, or if their day started on a bad note. Because funny enough, had one time this one lady, she came into the library. She's a regular. She was going to community college, and she was flustered like crazy because she had a USB flash drive and she was trying to print something out on it and it wouldn't work. And a minute later, after I was trying to get it to work and it wouldn't work, she realized, she just told me it was her mother's obituary that was on that flash drive. And she was just so disappointed because she lost her mother and was trying to get that obituary printed out. And we just have these flash drives for use where it's really just a policy where it's like they're supposed to bring it back in the same building, like whenever they're done, they bring it back. But I was like, okay, let me make an exception here and go above and beyond just a random policy and actually think about the actual person themselves. And I was like, okay, you're a regular, you come here a lot. Just take this, try to save it onto this, and then we can print it out here for you. And she came back afterwards a week later, and the obituary was printed out and all the other good stuff. And she was very grateful for that moment. And at the end of the day, it's just a tiny flash drive. Like, this is someone's livelihood. Someone just lost a loved one. Like, hey, this is something big, and just focusing on true service like that, and just really focusing on the person and how their problem can be solved, as opposed to just following orders and just staying metaphorically in the black and white and not being comfortable in that gray that will pop up.
Interesting. Are you still a librarian now?
Yes, sir.
I need to know. I've never searched myself. I need to know. How is it that the Dewey Decimal System can require 2 years of education? Like what's so intricate about it that most of us don't see? It's always boggled my mind. Give it to me in a minute. I don't want to go too far off on tangent, but it's always piqued my curiosity.
No, it's all good. It's all good. To be honest, you really don't need 2 years for the Dewey Decimal System. No, like
That's an
I
insider secret.
it. No, don't worry. Like, there's really no magical secret to it.
Okay, all right.
Because I work at a public library and we only use the Dewey Decimal for nonfiction books. Everything else is filed by the author, if not the title of the book on occasion.
Gotcha.
Because most folks, they don't even know the Dewey Decimal System. And the basic one, you can pick it up probably about like a couple hours or so. You don't need
so it doesn't take 2 years. Okay. Okay. So, okay. My ADHD took over the best of me there. So let's go back to what you're saying about treating people. I like the quote you said in your book. You said, never neglect the opportunity to treat a person like a diamond. What prompted you to say that? And what are the reasons for that?
Sure thing. So a lot of folks like to refer to precious metals of gold, occasionally platinum, and there's the commercial of diamond being a girl's best friend.
We didn't say that.
And I'm like, you know what? Folks want to be treasured, and they want to be made to feel important, and everybody wants to feel important, whether they like it or not, or want to admit it, or if they're living in denial. And that's not to mention caffeine. Caffeine helps you tap into different areas of your mind, along with ginkgo biloba. And that really brought that out at the time when I wrote that down, because, heck, even Mary Kay Ash is known for the quote of, everybody's got a sign hanging around their neck that says, everyone has an invisible sign that says, make me feel important. And we all want to feel important. We want that affirmation. You don't have to really ask them what their love language is, but if you're just kind to people and being nice to people, it's really just a good thing. And a few years ago, I was doing some grocery shopping, and before I even grabbed my cart, this homeless guy, he dropped his dime, and he was an older gentleman, and he was like, I mean, I wasn't even as muscular as I was back then, but I was still a pretty tall dude. And he was like, hey, don't do it. Don't do it. It's like, I thought he was going to stab me or something. And I said, you know, forget it. I just went and picked up his dime and gave it back to him. And he just grabbed me and gave me a hug and cried out of just generosity, because I gave him his money back. I wasn't out to steal his money. Like, because that'll find me back later in life. Someone will steal from me. So it's just fun. There's little things like that, and just really looking out for your fellow human, and just the small things that count, because kind of like at the beginning of this conversation where we mentioned the compound interest of your activities, and heck, even investments compounding over time, like your compound of kindness over time can
I agree.
really happen with small acts.
I agree. When you still doing public speaking?
Oh yeah, speaking in public, indeed.
And do you usually focus on these types of issues about treating other people properly and your daily design questions? And you are also very big on public speaking. You think that is a tool in itself, yes?
Yes, sir, indeed. It's a tool itself. And I like to get people thinking when I do big keynotes, and heck, even just small conversations like this for the world to see and hear long after we're gone, is because a lot of folks nowadays don't think. Do I claim to be the best thinker of all time? No, I don't. I'm not going to say that. I'll say I'm the brightest man on the planet, so the last name is Brightmon. I'll say that. But just make
did you work that one out?
But yeah, just reminding folks to be kind to each other, think for yourself, and help others to think, because that's also part of advancement, and just keeping your eye out for opportunities to help each other succeed. Like help if someone needs to get on another podcast, or if there's a speaking opportunity that I may not fit into, that someone in my network can fit into. Like with relationship coaching, I'm not a relationship expert. Like I would go to someone else in my network who has that wheelhouse. Like they may have a bigger pull than me and they have more experience in that area, as opposed to me trying to be the classic speaker of reading
Mm,
a bunch of books on it and giving the advice. And that's like, yeah, I can do that, but it wouldn't be as powerful as a person who's already doing that.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, really interesting. You know what? All great advice. Everything we've been talking about is fantastic with relation to personal development and people to achieve their best. Where can people find you? What other things do you want people to know about you?
Sure thing. So reach out to me on dombrightmon.vip. It's a nice one-page site with all my books and my bio, as well as a link to the Going North podcast. Check out the Going North podcast every Monday and not Monday, Tuesday, every Monday and Thursday. New episode goes up where I interview an author from around the world, where
Mm,
they share their books, their experiences to help you advance your life as well. And also June 5th through the 6th, 2020, I'm going to be part of a virtual summit called Inspire to Lead. It used to be, well, not used to be, but we've done 4 in-person seminars. 4 of them were in Maryland, and one of them was out in Arkansas. This time for the 5th event, we're going to make it virtual. So that way, folks from all over the globe can just go in, listen to the speakers at their convenience, as opposed to folks having the excuse of, oh, it's too far, I'm out in
mm.
Nigeria, I'm out in Japan, I can't fly, I'm not going to fly over. Well, hey, you could be in Japan, you can be in Saudi Arabia, wherever, and check out this virtual experience as well. So there you go,
Sounds cool.
DonBrightman.vip.
Sounds cool. Don Brightman, thank you very much. Really enjoyed that.
Thank you, Stu, for having me on. You the man.
Thanks.